Here I am. Hello everybody and welcome to Three Things Thursday, which is a new segment on my channel where I talk to you about three things on a Thursday. I am very excited about. They could be things that have absolutely nothing in common. They could be things that have something definitely in common. They could be things that I am loving right now. They could be things that I don't like. And all around things that I am just discovering in my world that I want to share with you. Without further ado, let's get to it. Here are 3 things on a Thursday from me to you. So this week I thought I would start out talking about books because any of you who know me at all know that one of my favorite things in the entire world is books. I have 3 books here that I picked out that I was going to talk about with you. These are 3 books that I'm reading right now. In the future I'll probably do an installation about books that I have read in the past that I love, books that I am planning to read, that kind of thing, and then asking people like, is this a good idea? Should I read these books? Books that were favorite books of my childhood. So please let me know in the comments which things you would want to hear from me, what books sound like, what genres of books you want me to talk. What a great word, what genres of books. Genre. So, first things first, this is a book called Glimpses of Grace by, well actually it's technically been organized by a woman named Carol F. Chase. All of the writing, the excerpts in it are from my favorite author, Madeleine L'Engle. She was the woman who wrote A Wrinkle in Time. She also wrote plays, she wrote poetry, she wrote some incredible nonfiction and religious books, as well as, in my opinion, some of the greatest young adult sci-fi in the entire world. I love her writing and it's incredibly inspiring to me. So this book, called Glimpses of Grace, is a yearbook. It's daily thoughts and reflections, and inside there are just sections that are like this, that are just short snippets that are labeled according to every day of the year, so you can kind of just soak in a little bit of information. I really admire her for a lot of reasons. She's really shaped a lot of my views of how I think that the universe works, how I think that theology works, and some of these other ideas that are just really important to me. A Wrinkle in Time was one of my favorite books when I was a little girl and is still to this day probably my favorite book. I just have been really enjoying reading this every day, getting a good dose of happiness and a good dose of ooh, that's true. Thank you, Madeleine. So for those of you who are maybe still on the lookout for a great book to read every year, this is a good one. Second, we have a book that is called New Artist's Video. I have been finding this really interesting. I found this book at a little store in Pilsen called Shady Rest. You guys should check it out if any of you are in the Chicago area. It's really cool in there. I found this there. What's awesome about this book is that I am obviously getting more and more interested in film, and I've been doing a lot more things with my cameras, getting much more interested in the concept of video as an art form. I'm a Gazley, so any of you guys who know my family know that I am deeply committed to film and movies and TV. This has just been really interesting to me because it was written in 1978, or at least it was copyrighted 1978. So you're getting this really interesting perspective of how people were looking at the art form of film before it was really considered an art form. So it's very interesting because a lot of the things that they're saying in this book are very, very outdated now at this point, but they offer a very interesting perspective. So for example, this is something that I was laughing at this. Initially, television was thought of as another form of telephone communication. The telephone is not portable. There is no telephone art. And I thought that was hilarious because now we do pretty much everything on our phone, including making art and you name it. And it's the most portable thing in the world because it's constantly attached to our body. So thought that was pretty funny. Third book. Okay, now this book, I'm kind of letting you guys in on a little bit of a something. I felt like this is one of the coolest books I've ever read, so I really wanted to share it with you. This book is called, I got it from the library, that's why it has this plasticky cover on it, but it's called Quantum Physics for Poets. It is so interesting. It's by Leon M. Lederman and Christopher T. Hill. One of them, Mr. Lederman, is a Nobel laureate. It informs me here on the cover. Let me see if I can read you a little section from the jacket here. Quantum theory is the bedrock of contemporary physics and the basis of understanding matter in its tiniest dimensions and the vast universe as a whole, but for many the theory remains an impenetrable enigma. This is a great book because it is kind of trying to make quantum physics a little bit more accessible for artistic types, for laymen, and it's also a book that, a particle physicist could read, I'm sure. I have really been enjoying this, and it's actually tied into my current art project, which I will have probably more information coming out about over the coming year, but I am working on a year-long project right now. It's heavily inspired by quantum physics and sci-fi and other things as well, but I'm only going to leak a little bit of information at a time about it because we don't want to get too far into that right now. So, also a great book. If any of you are interested in learning more about the way that the tiny parts of the universe work or about the world in general, then I would recommend this book to you. It is very enjoyable. I'll put links in the descriptions for all of these so that you guys can check them out at your leisure whenever you want to. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know if there's other things that you want to see me do a review on, like TV shows or anything like that. I am going to be back next week with another 3 Things Thursday. I will probably be uploading something else next week as well. We will see. This is all totally new to me. Hit like if you enjoyed this. Please subscribe to get updates on my other videos and to see what else I'm doing in my life and my world and okay. Talk to you later, bye. Please hit like if you... Furnace just turned. Hope the lighting wasn't crazy for this whole video. A learning process.